Our final lesson in this chapter, at least I believe it will be, is on section 4. It's called the Box-and-Whisker plot, or for short, it's often just called the box plot. I think you may have seen this before, but if not, that's okay. It's another way you can show the distribution, using a number line. So it shows the distribution of a set of data using a number line. It divides the set of data into 4 parts using the median and the quartile. A box is drawn around the quartile values, and whiskers extend from each quartile to the minimum and maximum values that are not outliers. So hopefully you can see how this connects directly to what we just did in section 3 with the measures of variation. That's where we found the range, the interquartile range, and outliers. So this is the number of wins for 2 baseball teams over the years of 1998 to 2009. So this is the Boston Red Sox and the Florida Marlins. So it says use the data in the table above to draw a box and whisker plot for Boston's number of wins. Okay, I'm going to use the space above here for us to put the Boston numbers in order. So the smallest would appear to be right here is 82. So 82. Looks like 85 is next. Yep. Then I saw 86. None other in the 80s that I can see. No 90s or 91s, so 92 would come next. There's a 93 and a 94. Then there's 495. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 95. So I have to write 95 4 times. Now, whether or not you noticed, I'm purposely trying to line these up with the boxes. For one, that gives me some help with the spacing, but also I'll know I'm finished once I've put a number in all the boxes. So now that I've done the 495s, I know I should just have one left, and I do. It's the 96. Okay, so I have one. I take away top and bottom, or bottom and top. Okay, so we end up with 2 in the center. So 2 numbers are in the middle. We add them together and divide by 2. So we get the median is 94.5. Sorry, I drew that in the wrong spot. I thought that looked off symmetrically. So the median is 94.5. Now I look over at this set of data. Notice where I correctly drew the line right here. There's 6 numbers over here, so we work our way in. So not these 2, not these 2. Well, I need to average these 2 together, find their mean to find the first quartile. 86 plus 92 is 188, or 178. Yeah, 178. We divide that by 2 and we get 89. So I'm going to try to write the correct spot this time. This is Q1, 89. Okay, then the correct line right here leaves 6 numbers above us. So not these 2, not these 2, but we do use these 2. Now they're the same. So the mean for those 2, Q3, is 95. So feel free to pause if you need to so you can look and make sure you see where I got the median and the quartiles. Okay, now this doesn't give us all the info we need, but I'm going to start doing what I can with this. So you can see this ranges from 82 to 96. So I'm just going to go by 100, go from 80 to 100. Now you can do exactly 82 and 96. That's okay. I just feel like it looks neater and nicer when I go a little bit farther out. And it's up to you. You can decide if you want to go up by 2s or 3s or 4s or 5s, whatever. I'm just going to choose to do twos. So 82, 84, 86, 88, 90, 92, 94, 96, 98, 100. One thing I meant to do is actually write all these first and then draw my line, because that's a common issue where you try to space things evenly and it doesn't work out. So anyway, I've got from 80 up to 100. I know my first quartile is 89. My third quartile is 95. So I'm going to mark it at 89 and at 95. Now this is where I need to draw my box from the first quartile to the third quartile. And I need to also mark the median at 94.5. So that's really close to where the quarter 3 is. So we'll just say it's about there. That's the median. So we've done the box part. Now to do the whiskers, it's possible we just need to draw it down to 82, the whisker, and draw it out to 96. But before we do that, we need to check for outliers. Okay, so if our quartile is 95 minus 89, so our IQR, 95 minus 89, that gives us 6. 1.5 times that is 9. So we say, all right, here's my lower quartile, my Q1. 89 minus 9 would give me a marking point of 80. So anything below 80 would be an outlier. But there's nothing below 80, so there's no outlier in the lower end. Now we go up to the third quartile and add 9. So 95 plus 9 is 104. That means anything above 104 would be an outlier. But there's none of those either. So there are no outliers. That means we will mark our whiskers down to 82 and up to 96. So just with a dot, I'll put a mark at 82, draw a whisker to the box, draw a whisker up at, oh goodness, what have I done? Now I'm worried. I forgot a number somewhere. Dag nabbit, what have I done? 285, 86, 92, 93, 94, 95. Oh, I did one too many 95s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's the good news. Doesn't change our quartiles or medians at all, but it does change our maximum, because look, I missed the 98 right there. Whew. Sorry for that mistake. You might have caught a long time ago and be wondering, what was he thinking? Fair question. So that's important, because we're going to go up to 98 with our whisker. So down here, I'll put a dot at 98, and I'll draw the whisker over to that. So that is the box and whisker plot for the Boston Winds. Now I'm going to label some of these, not because you have to for the box and whisker plot, but because I want you to see what we've done. We've marked the minimum here, the first quartile here, the median here, the third quartile there, and the maximum there. So again, I'm just labeling these to help you know what's what. It's not required to do that when you're told to draw one. But this actually does split it into 4 pieces. We got the lower whisker, the lower half of the box, the upper half of the box, and the upper whisker. Each of these represent 25% of the data. Now we're going to do the same thing to draw a box and whisker plot for Florida's number of wins. Then we'll try to compare them. Okay, so for Florida, the lowest is 54. The next lowest is 64. Then 71. 76. 78. And then we have 2 79s. And 2 83s that were back to back. We have an 84, 87, and 91. Okay. So here's the fun part. Since we're looking at the same number of years, we can actually find the median and the quartiles in the same locations. It's not the same numbers, but the same locations. So I know right away the median is going to happen right here, because that's where it was up there. And the median of the mean of 79 and 79 is 79. So our median is 79. So our third quartile will go right in between these two. So our third quartile will be 83.5. Our first quartile will go right here, halfway between 71 and 76. Add those together, divide by 2, you get 73.5. Okay, this one ranges from 54 to 91. So personally, I would start with 50 and go up to 95, but I'm going to smartly, I hope this time, just draw my spots over until I know to end. So I'm going to go by fives just because that's what I decided. Oh, it worked out pretty nice. Okay, so we've got a range of 50 to 95. That'll contain all the data we have here. So I know I can go and do the box. The first quartile, I keep forgetting to write that 1. The first quartile is 73.5, so that's about here. Third quartile is 83.5, that's about here. So I can draw the box around those two. Then the median is 79. So I draw a line in the box about there to mark the median for 79. Now we do have to check for outliers here. So the interquartile range, that's Q3 minus Q1, turns out to be 10 exactly. And 1.5 times 10 is 15. So if we subtract 15 from 73.5, we get 58.5. So 58.5 is our lower boundary. We do have an outlier down here, 54. So outliers are marked as a star on the line. And since that's an outlier, we won't draw our whisker all the way to 54. Instead, we'll just draw the whisker to 64, the next lowest number. So do a dot there at 64 and draw my whisker. So this is a way the box and whisker plots can show you outliers, because we mark them with a star, and the whisker will not go that far. So we did find a lower whisker. Let's see if there's one on the upper end too. So 15 is our 1.5 times the interquartile range. So if I add 15 to 83.5, you get 98.5, and there's nothing above that. And just to be clear, since these are a number of games won, they can only be whole numbers. So 98 would be okay. We don't need to think about rounding. This number matters, 98.5. That would mean 98 wins is not an outlier, but 99 is. So we can draw our whisker all the way up to our maximum, which is at 91. So one thing you can see is this is a lot more evenly spread out than what we had up with the Boston. They had a lot packed up in this 95 or 94.5 to 98 range, because that's half the data that goes above the median. Now they're much more spread out in the lower part, but in the upper part, it's really tightly packed group of numbers. Whereas Florida's more evenly spread out, except for that one bad time when they only had 54 wins. Other than that, they were pretty evenly spread out as far as the number of wins they got each year. This might be the most important part of the lesson. That's how to interpret box and whisker plots, because we really want to understand what the data means. So I think I started hinting at this or talking about it on the front of the page, but this will lay it out a little more clearly. So excluding outliers, box and whisker plots separate data into 4 parts. Even though the lengths of the whiskers in the box may all be different, each of them represent 1/4 or 25% of the data. So that's part of what I was trying to illustrate here when I was comparing these two. So even though these two parts of the box are pretty evenly spread. That's 25% of the data. That's 25% of the data. These are not anywhere close to the same width, but this big part of the box is still 25% of the data. And this little piece right here is also 25% of the data. So it really just means lots of it is close together right here. Because each part, the left whisker, the left part of the box, the right part of the box, and the right whisker, each of those represent 25% of the data. So the box itself, the box as a whole then, represents two 25% pieces for a total of 50% of the data. The whisker to the left of the box, over here, contains 25% of the data. The whisker to the right of the box contains 25% of the data. And the box and the lower whisker combined, so the whole box and the lower whisker combined, make 75% of the data. And the whole box and the upper whisker, so from here up to here, is 75% of the data. That's because when we talk about these two, we're talking about 1, 2, 3 parts, each were 25%, or 1, 2, 3 parts, each were 25%. So let's practice this now. So the number, sorry about that typo, I gotta fix that. The number of chart hits for the top female, oh wow, just again, another type of male right there, comes in the U.S. Postal Service. The number of chart hits for top female groups in the U.S. are displayed. Okay, so what percent of the groups had at least 18 chart hits? So it appears 18 to be right here, which means the median is at 18%. Not 18%, sorry, 8 chart hits. So if the median is 18, they said what chart had at least 18? So that means 18 or more. So that means we got to cover this part of the box, that's 25%, and this whisker, that's also 25%. So that means 50% had at least 18 chart hits, because 18 is the median. So there's 50% above that mark and 50% below that mark. What percent of the groups had more than 26 chart hits? So 26 would appear to be the spot where we have the box ending. So the ones that had more than 26, that would be this right whisker. And this whisker, just like the other pieces, contains 25% of the data. So 50% had more than 18, 25% had more than 26. Okay, now, what does the length of the box and the whiskers tell us about the data? So if you look, the whiskers seem to be about the same. But in the box, we're more spread out on the right or the upper part than we are on the lower part. So the data between Q1, that's this spot right here, Q1, and the median, that's right there, the 18, are more tightly packed than the data between the median and Q3. So that tells us how the two boxes compare. But as I said, the whiskers seem to be about the same length. So the way to say that more officially is the range above Q3, that's the right whisker or the upper whisker, and below Q1, at the left or the lower whisker are about the same. Okay, last question. What percent of the muffins have fewer than 200 calories? So this is calories in muffins of different kinds or different brands, who knows? So this says, what percent of the muffins have fewer than 200 calories? So 200 calories appears to be at the Q1 spots, right here at the edge of the box. So we're really asking what percent is contained in that tail right there, that whisker, the whisker right there. Well, as we know, each piece contains 25%, so that would be 25% is below 200. Then it says, is there an outlier? You see I moved the paper over because I realized this couldn't be seen. This star, which this one had one as well, there's an outlier either at 44 or 45, I can't tell. But there's an outlier up here that appears to be about 400. So yes, there's an outlier, and it's at 400. So that one was so far removed from the others, it's considered an outlier because it's way higher than what all the others seem to be.